Dear guests of the eMUPET 2020, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is David Peroz. I'm a lawyer working for Pöllath Partners in its Berlin office in the investment fund team. Although currently I'm exclusively working for the European Investment Fund in Luxemburg, which brings me to my dear guest, Carsten Just. Carsten Just is the head of the EIF facility, working for the EIF since 8 years. And I'm very glad that I have the chance of talking to you and that you took the time to talk to us about the experiences, the role and the outlook of the European Investment Fund in times of COVID-19.
Great to have you here and great to speak to you.
Carsten, ERP, as far as I know, it stands for the European Recovery Program, and it actually roots back to the old Marshall Plans that were set up to rebuild Europe after the tragedies of the Second World War. Can you maybe give us some more insights about ERP and what it stands for?
You're right. So European Recovery Program dates back 1948 and is the official name of the Marshall Plan, under which the United States provided funds to European states, including Germany. Germany managed the funds received under the Marshall Plan pretty well, so they established the ERP Sondervermögen, the ERP Special Fund. And under this special fund, the KfW, Kreditanstalt für Wiederaufbau, has been established. And now maybe the question where comes EIF into place. Back in 2004, we have, following an initiative of the German Ministry for Economic Affairs, established the ERP EIF facility. Back then, it was after the burst of the internet bubble, the dot-com crisis. European venture capital ecosystem was dead. And with this 500 million euro program, we started to invest as a cornerstone investor in venture capital funds. So ERP EIF facility is a fund of fund program, equally funded by German Ministry from the ERP Special Fund and EIF resources. Since then, the program has grown to a total volume of 3.2 billion euro and is about to be further increased shortly. As of today, we've built a portfolio of some 100 venture capital funds, co-invested with some 50 business angels, and also established a growth window to back successful, fast-growing companies beyond the financing powers of a typical venture fund in their later growth stages. But most important KPI under this mandate is probably how many companies did we reach. As of today, we've invested in more than 2,000 SME investments in Germany and Europe.
Since 2004?
Yeah. Only in 2019, we've invested more than 400 million euro with almost 20 funds and business angel setups.
That is impressive. Coming a little closer to our topic today, I started working for the EIF in the beginning of March. So I was fortunate enough to have 2-3 weeks of office work, meeting the new colleagues, getting to know the procedures. But then the hard lockdown came and the EIF is still not back in the office. Basically all of its staff is working from home. Beyond this obvious impact of COVID-19 on the EIF, what are your experiences you've made in the last 3.5 months, and what did the EIF as an institution experience?
Yeah. 3.5 months ago, something happened which nobody of us expected. So we were all sent home, all 500 people, staff. And this teleworking period worked surprisingly well, thanks to a great business continuity plan. So we did not only manage to do our business as usual, decentralized, but we even had, besides homeschooling our kids, the possibility to work and develop measures and programs to fight the economic effects arising from the corona crisis and the lockdown. it is a different way of working, and biggest restriction is probably that we cannot travel. You may know, normally we travel a lot to meet our fund managers, attend conferences. We've maximized, of course, the usage of video conferencing, and that works actually pretty well. So we save time, protect the environment on a number of occasions. We even sense that certain processes can speed up, because as nobody's traveling, all colleagues are not traveling, but only a mouse click away. But seriously, of course, the travel ban has also some limitations. Conferencing, I mean, like the eMUPET is a great format, but I think we still hope that we have the chance to meet in person
certainly
on the
hope
next
to
occasion. So I think that's something which we would miss on the long run, not to sense the market sentiment on the conferences, and even with an even more operational impact, we cannot run on-site due diligences, and that's important before you write a 30 million euro check with a team which you've never met before. This is an issue, so we of course begin due diligences or start assessments, and we can also top up in existing relationships where we got to know the fund managers already over some years' time, but not being on site and getting to know a team, the team dynamics amongst each other in their operational environment. That's a challenge and an issue in these times.
You already mentioned special measures and programs being set up to target the economic effects of the current pandemic. Can you maybe tell us a little bit more about the plans that were set up to help the European economy recover?
Yeah, 3.5 months ago, when we faced the lockdown, we reached out to our GPs, fund managers, immediately to sense what is their experience and their expectations, and this reach out demonstrated an enormous uncertainty from all market participants. Uncertainty whether portfolio companies could stand the crisis, uncertainties whether financing rounds and syndicates would form and materialize, uncertainties whether GPs in fundraising would have a chance to close their fund within the expected timeline. So and the first lesson learned was probably it's of utmost importance for the EIF to continue investing as a cornerstone LP. So we need to ensure that 2020 becomes a strong vintage year, and we need to bring the funds that are about to be raised into the market. So priority one, continue our investment activity and back also strong GPs which we've already backed in the past, because even the established ones faced situations where large LPs dropped out for a successor fund. Second dimension was we increased flexibility. So we increased on certain occasions our commitment to reach critical fund volume. We compromised to lower first closing volumes, extended fundraising periods, etc. And by doing so, I think we've taken appropriate measures to bring sufficient number of new funds, new 2020 and also 2021 funds into the market, and not dry out the VC market. But beyond supporting the creation of new funds, we were of course also thinking of how to support the legacy portfolio. There's funds with limited follow-on reserves and facing additional financing needs, and here we also considered to increase our commitment in funds which were recently raised, or we can consider co-investment sidecars which provide additional funds for companies in their in the later stages. So since over the last 3.5 months, we've worked on a number of programs about to be launched. So we are already reaching out and sourcing and assessing the possibilities on pan-European level, but also on national level. We're in Germany, and here, for example, the Corona matching facility was announced some months ago, in which we also play a role. Besides the equity business, maybe, so I was only talking about equity right now, EIF also runs a guarantee business, and there we've made available a guarantee of 1 billion euro from our mandates available, and with this 1 billion euro we expect to unlock some 40 billion euro funding volume through debt programs and loan programs, which shall support up to 100,000 companies.
Impressive numbers. You referred to the CMF, the Corona Matching Facility, which was set up by the EIF and KfW. As we have a lot of German viewers, could you give us some more insights on how this facility actually works, and is it already working?
Yeah. The CMF, Corona Matching Facility, is part of a 2 billion euro startup program announced by German Ministry for Economics and German Ministry of Finance, announced 1st of April. Large part of these 2 billion euro is to be deployed by KfW Capital and EIF in the form of co-investments with venture capital funds. How does it work? The CMF, Corona Matching Facility, provides funding to accredited fund managers in the form of co-investments with their funds. So whenever an accredited investment scheme, a fund of a GP, would invest into a German portfolio company, the CMF would provide a co-investment in a predefined co-investment ratio into that company. The co-investments would be provided in the form of a trusteeship structure, so the GPs, fund managers, would through their funds act as trustees for co-investments on behalf of KfW Capital or EIF. Under this program, we will be able to match all German financing rounds from now on, under certain circumstances even retroactive for financing rounds after the 1st of April up until end of this year. And it comes along without deal-by-deal approval, so we would automatically co-invest all eligible financing rounds. At the same time, we expect the fund managers to present all deals and share them with us to ensure proper alignment with us and avoid adverse selection or cherry.
I have two questions. First one being, you said that there will be a predetermined co-investment ratio. What will that ratio be?
Yeah. So when a GP applies, he would apply for support in a certain co-investment ratio, let's say 50-50, then we would match each euro one by one. But this co-investment ratio can, under certain circumstances, go up to 70-30. 70-30 is subject to the CMF not being more than 50% of the financing round. So should you apply and invest into a round where there is another investor not being matched by the CMF directly, we could match your investment 70-30 as long as our co-investment is less than 50% of the financing round.
Okay. And secondly, you said that the CMF would participate in every company, so to avoid cherry picking. Is there another reasoning behind it, or is that the only thing that is to be targeted?
I told you earlier, under the EIF facility, we invested last year 400 million euro in 20 funds. This program has a volume of 2 billion euro, out of which some earmarked 1.2 billion euro to be co-invested through that model by end of this year. So under EIP, this is commitments into funds for the next 5 to 10 years term of the underlying funds. This is a huge volume with the potential to be deployed very fast. And we cannot do deal by deal assessments. We have to find a way to co-invest automatically. Otherwise, we would create a bottleneck. And this vice versa exclusivity is a mitigant to adverse selection to ensure that a fund manager wouldn't only bring us the weaker deal in which he wants to reduce his exposure, but share all deals happening between now and the end of this year.
Understood. Okay, now we talked about the experiences of the EIF and also the role of the EIF in the current times. I know these special circumstances don't really allow predictions on a serious level, but maybe would you allow us to take a little look inside the crystal ball? What will the next 1 or 2 years bring, and what will be the major challenges?
Yeah, 3.5 months ago, we did not have any visibility what would happen throughout the lockdown. Told you, we managed to do our work. The fund managers took control of their portfolio as well and have functioning business continuity plans as well. And in the meantime, we even see large financing rounds north of 100 million euro happening. We see exits like the one of Peak Games recently taking place at impressive valuations. And we see also with our support fund managers successful closing their funds. So there is hope and which makes me optimistic that we can overcome crisis and turn everything into good. Of course, this is not yet representative for the entire ecosystem. Let's start with travel industry, of course, heavily impacted, but not only travel industry. I mean, in particular, the German ecosystem is highly depending on a high consumption rate, and not only within Germany, but also a high level of exports, and there it is more than uncertain whether all industry sectors will recover back to the level pre-crisis. At the same time, we believe that this lockdown has also potential to give digitalization in certain areas a push and create new potentials. So I think things will change, and overall I'm positive and optimistic that we can turn things into good. So what we see is, I mean, definitely a different scenario or different market indicators than we've seen 20 years ago after the dot-com crisis. Yeah.
It's certainly a two-edged sword, but that your baseline is optimism it's a good thing, I guess. Now that I have you here and the viewers have the opportunity of listening to you, do you have a message you want to share with our viewers, with the market?
Yeah, maybe directly talking to our fund managers and GPs in the market. You've demonstrated super performances over the last years, largely paper-based, and hence you are of course challenged a lot by the current things happening, but we see that you are taking control of the portfolio, that you are fighting for your deals, and we want to assure you that we remain to be sustainable partner on your side throughout this crisis and beyond, and wish you good luck going forward.
Thanks a lot, Carsten. First of all, thank you for being on the front lines of this current war against the pandemic and against its economic effects on Europe. And thank you also for taking the time to talking to us. And I'd also like to thank our viewers for tuning in. I wish you all that you stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.